it's important to call out scammers and scams in the hobby and things to look out for. I'm not going to fault anybody for speaking out on repacks because, I believe they're a scam. There's a lot of people that complain about grading. I'm not going to speak about anybody. I was into grading, but now I believe that's a scam too. And I'm not going to speak out on anybody that says that PSA selling and grading the cards is a conflict of interest, because I believe it is a conflict. Those are just factual things. They cracked one of my slabs. I know they damaged somebody else's slab there at the authentication, and it's just really not necessary. If there should be a turn in the economy, that could hurt it if people stop paying up for these, because I'm of the belief that the vast majority of the big cards that are being sold are flippers selling to flippers. And I think that every change in the hobby is really geared towards the sellers. But man, there's some unscrupulous people. You've shown many of them. The repacks are made to make the sellers rich. That's what they're there for. It's like the old Razzes.
You talk about the money. You talk about beating people.
A little crisper. All right, today we have on John Mangini, or Mr. Mangini of the Mangini collection. He's a big vintage collector, and he really represents, in my opinion, the collector's point of view. So, John, I just watched a couple of your videos, and I notice some of the same frustration I have comes from the same, but you talk about it a little calmer. You present it a little different of a way. So I'm just going to start hot. What is one big frustration, or even two big frustrations, that currently hit you in the card space?
Oh, frustrations for me. The mail's one nowadays. Hasn't been so reliable. Had a very super rare card stolen. I probably will never see that card ever again. It's that rare. Just because it had to go to eBay authentication. Went out to California, got stolen at UPS. So the mail's one. I have other friends that have had cards stolen recently when they're going to UPS or FedEx, or that's kind of a common. That's a modern problem, actually. When people see cards or certain sellers, these guys know to snag those up because cards are going through the moon, man. Going to the moon.
No, that's good insight. I don't think about that. So you think theft in I also know mail prices are up as well, but theft in
general, yes.
Okay.
I think that's a big problem.
So one of the problems I saw you talking about, a couple. One was that you feel like everything is going for the seller side. Obviously, you talked about eBay and their certification process, and it's not necessarily for the buyer, it's for the seller. And a lot of these things are currently being put in place for the selling side.
Yeah, that's right. The eBay authentication is for the sellers. It's not for buyers. We don't need to have our SGC slabs authenticated by PSA and go across the country, risk theft, risk damage. They've cracked.
Breaks my heart. Okay.
You have PSA selling cards, grading them, selling. That's a big conflict.
Does a flipping culture?
I don't know why people don't think that.
It is a big conflict of interest, no doubt. Do you want to get into that a little more? Why you think that? I 100% think it's a conflict of interest.
Well, I mean, what other authenticator do you know is also your salesperson? I mean, if you have a home inspection, is that your realtor inspecting your home, or the person who's selling that home? No, it's an independent third party, and that's what grading is supposed to be. When they have, and I'm not saying they do this, but they do have an incentive when you're buying a card, sending it there for them to sell, to grade it higher, because they're going to make more money. I mean, they might make more money on the grading itself, right? They could upcharge it and then turn around and sell it, and it's going to sell for more because it has a higher number on it. I'm not saying they're doing that, but that just seems like a complete conflict of interest to me.
From what I've heard, it's all on the genuine innocent side, but it just takes one bad apple, or there's a lot of moving parts. It can come from a lot of angles where there's some weirdness.
Well, it's a monopoly. And, in this country, we don't always think that all monopolies are necessarily looking out for our best interests. So they could say that, but the only true way is to separate the authenticators from the sellers, from having any interest in selling.
Of course, of course. All right, so you were just rewinding a bit. You were talking right now. I have a hard time believing the flipping culture is sustainable. If everyone just, hey, let me buy it on eBay and resell it right away. To me, it boggles my mind. I mean, I don't see it be in a decade. I'm very curious. Is this culture in cards last where it's buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell? Any ideas?
For
Any
me,
thoughts?
I think it is sustainable as long as cards, as long as the economy and cards are hot. I think it is sustainable for that long. If there should be a turn in the economy, that could hurt it. If people stop paying up for these, because I'm of the belief that the vast majority of the big cards that are being sold are flippers selling to flippers. I see, you could go onto Facebook and you'll see 352 Mickey Mantles every single week. And I know those are being flipped. And I know that they're flipping to each other because your average collector, I'm sure you don't go looking for $50,000 prospect rookies. I mean, your average collector is not, doing that. It's prospectors. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I believe that's what's happening. So should that flipper not be able to get more money the next time it sells? Should the 52 mantle go flat, for instance? Now you're not so willing to put out 80 grand trying to make 85 grand, sell it for 85 grand. Because you can make a quick 5 or 10,000 flipping 52 Mickey Mantles if you get them at a decent price. You can make that all day long. But what happens when you're shelling out 80,000 and it's not selling for more? That'll put an end to flipping real fast. And that could happen, like I said, with a downturn in the economy or with a downturn in card prices.
Okay, something I think that pushes this a lot is sensational. We both make YouTube content. I think we both enjoy, from what I hear from you, we both enjoy making the card content, but some of it is extremely sensationalized and it doesn't help our side of the hobby.
No, it does not.
What the whole I spent $50,000 at a card show. It's like I tried to think about other niches. I don't think video game channels are saying, hey, look at me, I went and spent 50 grand on video games. I don't think it crosses over. I think it's very lazy and boring. And the other thing I wanted to mention, because you were saying on collector channels, no one wants to see, the cards anymore. But I make that same argument. No, you have to be creative. No video game channel, no sneaker channel is just saying, hey, here's all my shoes. Like, they have to have a little more creativity than that. So
I just did an experiment on that. I'll do some just opinion videos, but mostly I show cards. And I get, I don't know, 800 to 1,000 views on my card videos. So I did like 3 videos in a row where I just showed cards, and they were great cards. And I was getting between 500 and 600 views. So I'm like, let me try this. So I did a video entitled "The Demise of the Collector."
I watched it.
Yeah, I have almost 5,000 views on it.
Yeah,
because people don't want to look at cards. They don't.
It's like showing somebody your fantasy
that's
football
not what
team.
they watch.
Sorry. It's like showing somebody your fantasy football team. It's cool to you. How many other people want to see your players? Maybe your good friends. Now, to go against, there is a small niche that does watch the card stuff. It's just really small.
Absolutely. I'm talking about the masses. But what I show is things you probably haven't seen before. Like my channel, I try to be very educational, and I show the vintage cards that many people don't know about, and I talk about them, and I talk about the players. And there is certainly, and it's mostly in the vintage community, a thirst for that, but it's nowhere near the thirst if you want to talk smack on Jeff Wilson or something. Then you get all kind of views.
Deserved. We're 10 minutes in. I haven't got one yet. I'm going to do my best, and I need it from you. Today, we're going to look at some baseball cards. I got to get one.
On my video today, I had Wade Boggs did it for me. Very cool.
Wow.
He's so gracious to the card collector community.
That is really neat. I watched the other guy do an impression of you doing it. His impression was pretty good.
Yeah, I have a few of those. A few guys do that. I wanted to come up with a newer way to shout channels out. You know, when you're just a small collector channel, you don't. It's really hard to be seen, and so I try to shout out those kinds of collector channels who are just doing it to show their cards, meet people. You know, I had there was a woman. She had one subscriber. It was her daughter, and she had an amazing collection. And I gave her a shout out, and she immediately got, you know, several hundred subscribers. And now it is a whole new experience for her. It opened up a whole new world. She met all kind of people. She's been on lives, and she now has some collecting friends, because many of us have collected in obscurity until, you know, we discovered YouTube or came on here.
To really quick go back to, I can't leave the sensationalized content. So something like, well, you mentioned Jeff Wilson, card collector too. You also in some of your videos talk about the big channels getting a lot of views. I find that stuff not organic. And I don't know if you want to talk about it. I find some of their views, some of this, it's pumped to keep it at a certain level. And it really makes our channels look like garbage. But I don't think the card viewer out the market for people on YouTube watching card content isn't in the 50,000, 100,000 range. Does it bother you at all? It's what inspires my content. It bugs the shit out of me. And I'm just curious, does it get under your skin? You don't mind it? You have a little more level head than me?
Well, as far as my YouTube channel, I really don't care. I'm not doing this to, you know, be the next big YouTube star or anything like that. What does bother me about it is new people coming into the hobby,
Exactly.
and real collectors, like, that just want to learn about cards and stuff. They're not finding that information. All they're seeing is flip cards. I made $5 million in college selling sports cards, you know, that kind of stuff. And I don't like, and let me just say this, there's lots of things in this world I do not like. So I just need to get over it. But I don't like that that's what the hobby has become. You know, and no matter where you go, if you tell somebody you collect baseball cards, what's the first thing they ask you? What's your most expensive card? Do you have that Mantle card? Do you have that Hannes Wagner card? You know, what's your most expensive card? What else do you introduce yourself where people ask that question? What do you do for a living? I'm an attorney. How much money you make? What kind of car do you drive? What did you pay for that? What's it worth now? You live in that neighborhood? Oh yeah, I live around the corner. What's your home worth?
I love the one where you mentioned, because it's a hobby. What, you know, I golf. What's your most expensive club? I mean, that was perfect. Perfect.
Only in cards do people talk like that. I don't even think in other collectible space people ask that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I guess the reason
in the old days, they used to ask me how many I had or how far back my cards go. That was a big thing in the old days. Want to know if you had old cards, you know. Now
what's your favorite card? How about that? You know, that's an easier and better question than what's the most expensive.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. A lot of us, you know, it's about nostalgia. When you get older, a lot of it is about nostalgia when you were young and so forth. So I had the president of the Charleston River Dogs come in here for a tour. He brought another guy with him. And I'm showing him like these rare Hannes Wagners, and I'm all excited to show him these rare cards. And the one thing he was enamored with was this old card footlocker that we had when we were kids, because he had one when he was a kid.
Okay.
And he couldn't quit looking and talking about it. And I was laughing. You know, some people, there's other things more important than money. You know, I just want to point this out. You will see a lot of the guys in the vintage world who are older, and they don't care so much about the money, like younger up and coming people who haven't made it yet. You know, a lot of these guys are really wealthy, and so dropping $30,000 on a card doesn't faze them. And when you get older, you don't have that much shit to do. You know, I used to live in Miami and go to clubbing and have bottle service next to Fat Joe and run around. And, you know, when I was young,
hey now,
I spent my money on all kind of things, cars, whatever. When you get older, there's there's not that much to do. You're settled, and you just keep making the money, but you're not spending anything. And so older guys have a lot more disposable income in general. There's certainly wealthy young people too, but I think that people fail to see that, and that's why it's just turn off to hear about the money, especially if you have a lot. What do I
Or
care?
not a lot. The opposite side goes as well. If I don't, what do I want to see?
Well, that too.
50,000 is what most people make in a year. They're rolling their eyes. They're saying, "Screw you" to that kind of content, in my opinion.
No, it creates. I mean, there is certainly, that oh my God, throw it in my face kind of mentality. The chains and this and that, and that's not fun for a lot of people to watch. It's just not.
I just want to make sure I go back. So I agree with you 100%. There's no competition. It's not the competition thing with those channels. It's that they misrepresent the hobby. And that just, to me, and that's what inspired me.
Well, it's a different hobby. There's two different hobbies now.
It's a hobby of greed and money.
Yeah. I mean, your hobby's selling and flipping and whatever. It's a totally different hobby. There's two hobbies now. That's just the way it is. There's no longer one hobby. Then you have like the hybrids who do a little of both.
Okay, so I have a little more couple things going the negative route. So let's be positive for a minute. What is your favorite thing or the best thing about sports cards or the hobby right now?
I think the best thing is the education availability. Years ago, I didn't know how rare cards were, and now we have pop reports. And with YouTube and all these card shows and everything, we are all exposed to so much. I was just talking with somebody on a video I did, and we were talking about when we first came onto YouTube, we were showing these vintage cards we thought were pretty common, and everybody was like, oh, I never saw those before. I never saw those before. And now here we are years later, and everybody's collecting those sets. So they're much more known. Now, that's a good thing and a bad thing, because now I have to pay a little more money for those cards. But I think that it's wonderful. When I used to collect in obscurity, and when I was young, a little kid, I just had to learn about these kind of on my own, out of books or magazines or whatever. And so the education aspect and just the visibility aspect is very positive. It's like that $12 million card that's sold. I mean, there's good and bad in it. There's bad, and then it's just going to attract more of the stuff you and I don't care for. But it's good in the overall visibility. I remember when the T206 Hannes Wagner sold to Gretzky. Man, the buzz that caused in the sports, for sports cards was sensational. And the other thing is you used to be like a nerd to collect cards. And you almost didn't want to tell anybody.
Exactly.
Now you could be proud. You could be proud because people, they're like, oh, wow, sports cards. Those are worth a fortune. It's like art collecting now.
Okay, the other thing you mentioned, you called it, and I still think it's way too early. It's not you have been mentioning it's an asset now. People are looking at it, treating it as asset, but it's not a proven asset. I mean, we're not talking about sugar here. I mean, that's a commodity, but we're not talking about a real estate. We're not, I just think it's also new it's a risk. It's a risky asset, in my opinion.
Well, it's an asset. It's a proven asset. It's just a risky asset.
Is something like that?
Risky assets. And Bitcoin's a risky asset, but you can't say it's not an asset. We're making money on it.
But if it goes
money
down,
on it every month.
All right, but if when a card sells for 13 million, especially I saw that it just makes me that's new. That's something new. And sure, you could say, okay, it's going to keep going.
Yeah, but consider who bought it.
Yeah, I think it was market manipulation. He owns all that stuff.
Well, I mean, if you have
owns all that
if
stuff.
you have close to $1 billion or $1 billion, that's nothing.
Well, why did they three team up? Why did they have to team up to buy it? Just for fun?
I think that they're looking at that as an additional asset class, and they know it's going to drive a lot of buzz, man. And, maybe they're buying other stuff up right now that's similar.
He is. His collection is crazy. But here's Mangini. I don't know
what he's doing.
Well, I mean, I've researched it pretty well. He's bought every if you look at the list of modern cards that are new, or excuse me, modern cards, the highest prices ever sold, the $4 million Luka Shine, the $3 million Luka Shine, the $2 million Jordan, Kobe LeBron Auto Shine, every big card, I look at it the same way I'm looking at YouTube. There's a lot of manipulation going on. It's
Yeah.
not as innocent as you're making it seem.
Well, it's been happening. Vegas Dave kind of started this whole thing when he
Yeah.
said, I paid 400,000 for this, and I guarantee you I'm gonna make a killing on it.
That's right.
And then he later did a video. I don't know if you saw his later video where when the prices were going crazy, he came out and he did a video saying that, look, what's being done is you sell it to your friend and it goes for way more. It hits the news. And I said that was happening before he even made that video. And I use that as kind of a I told you so moment, because you sell it to your friends, it hits the news, it goes up, so the next time it sells for more.
It's a better comp. It's a new
and that's
comp
been
now.
going on. That's been
That's
going
so
on.
dirty,
We're not
man.
all
It's so
morons.
dirty.
We know that's been
Yeah,
happening.
but how many people are talking about that? And these people that are watching Jeff Wilson and Car Collector, they haven't been in like you and me. They don't know.
You have to be able to prove it. I'm just not going to throw.
Well, I mean, PWCC there's a lawsuit against PWCC for shill bidding right now. That's one company, but if one company's doing it, who the hell else knows?
Well, how about the scandal with PSA?
Wait, which one with PSA?
Years ago, PWCC, a few years back, there was like a guy in there who was getting special treatment for PSA. That was their first big scandal.
None of it. I heard you, and I was so glad you did. But I still want to talk about it because a lot of people don't know. Well, maybe if they're watching the channel, they know. But
no, there's a lot of names in here. I'm not going to get into details, but there's a lot of big names in this hobby right now that in the old days were looked at by the FBI, and we're involved in stuff. You can go research Project Bullpen and look for names if you want.
Oh,
but,
hey.
We recycle them.
Yeah.
This hobby forgives everything. No matter what PSA does, they get a pass. No matter what anybody does, they get a pass. Everybody gets a pass.
Okay, speaking of a pass, I heard you call mystery packs a license to steal. I am not a mystery pack person. I think it's a way to get rid of stuff that doesn't move. Are mystery packs going to last? I mean, are they?
Mystery packs have been around nearly as long as I've been collecting. And the difference is now I think they go for a lot more, and they certainly sell more. I wouldn't buy a repack with your money. It is the biggest scam. I mean, it is literally they take shit cards, mix them in there. It's a way to get rid of them. Now, if you have shit cards and you want to sell them, then they can reach out to me. I'll sell them a whole carton full, because they have to keep coming up with these shit cards in order to pack them up. And every once in a while, they'll mix in a good one, and somebody will get something. But the vast majority of people are going to lose. Come on. But I'm not here to tell anybody what to do. It's not my money. You can spend your money how you want. It's a lottery. So I'm sure there are people that buy lottery tickets. I'm sure there are people that lose tens of thousands of dollars in Vegas. It's the same thing. Or buying penny stocks. That's no different than going to Vegas either.
A man of my heart. The problem is, I think it's important to make sure people are educated, because I assume a lot of those people buying mystery packs, they're not you and me. I mean, they're new. They're probably newer people to the hobby, would be my guess.
Well, see, the problem with repacks is they're only as good as who's putting them together. And if you see the guys on Whatnot and stuff, and I'm not saying all of them, but man, there's some unscrupulous people. You've shown many of them. If you're buying repacks from guys who are opening breaks off camera and swapping cars, like, do you really trust them? So I don't know.
And they keep getting business.
Repacks, but the repacks are made to make the sellers rich. That's what they're there for. It's like the old Razzes. They would sell that card. They would make sure they got over top dollar for it, break it out, and everybody's paying $20 a piece. And they're making their money, and everybody but one gets screwed on the deal, and that's what it is.
I agree fully. Okay. before we get to I want your take on autograph vintage rookies. But before we do that, the last thing I want to talk about, because I don't think it's talked about enough. I heard you mention it. I was going to ask you before you even mentioned it, is, two levels to this: burnout in cards, and then burnout in content. And I think they're both somewhat real. I mean, if you're making a lot of money, you don't want to be burnt out. It's good to make money, but I don't know. You could take it either angle, but I'm curious on your idea, where your thoughts are: burnout from sports cards and burnout from content creating.
Well, I think you could get burnout from both. I think they're probably related. I think if you get really super frustrated with the hobby, I know I've had times where I just wanted to step away. Like the stuff I see, I just don't like the modern hobby and this and that. And I just want to step away from both. It's not like, so because you're still involved, so I think they're kind of related in that way. Now, I don't have a situation where I'm relying on that income from YouTube, that's my living. That's a different story, but we've all gotten frustrated at work. If you're making your living at it, you got to work through it. But cards or collecting, you can stop anytime you want. I know I cut way back because I just found that all the cards I was buying were just being flipped. And I'm seeing them on eBay. I'm watching them, and then they sell, and they're right back up there a week or two later for, $5,000 more, $3,000 more, 1,000 more. And I'm like, I don't want to give these people my money anymore. So I stopped buying big cards. I get packages in the mail. They're still in the original envelope. They went to the guy who just bought it to sell it, and stuff like that. So I know there was I think it was an REA auction, but I'm not positive that's the auction house. I think it was, where it was sold. Yeah, actually it was, because I went up to the guy and asked him, and I couldn't believe how fast they shipped it. It was one on Sunday, and it was being flipped on Tuesday. I mean, even the big auction houses, they're getting these cards. So it's a situation where if you can get the cards cheap enough, that's what people were doing. Even collectors. At the National, I went up to trade night, and I see these people buying cards that day. You go to trade night, they're all for sale, because dealers were really giving you good deals on, the non-dream cards, right? Like the big dream cards are always selling. They're way up, right? Everybody's paying up for those things. But there are a lot of other cards, Hall of Famers that aren't that popular, vintage cards that aren't that popular, other players that you could get for next to nothing, or at least really low. And so if they found a really good deal, or maybe a dealer didn't even know what he had and he priced it low, they're buying them and taking them to trade night to sell, like hours later. That's why I call it the hot potato era, right? We had the junk wax era, and now we have the hot potato era, where nobody holds onto a car longer than a half a day.
Yeah, to me, that's not a sustainable market. Just at a macro level, that's not how economics works. You don't buy something. Eventually, everyone's a seller, and there's no more buyers. It's just so it's
kind of a pyramid scheme.
Yes, agree.
If what I'm saying is true, and that it's flippers selling to flippers, it's a pyramid scheme, because as soon as somebody stops, when you can't flip them for a profit, then you're going to stop flipping. And then that means you're going to stop buying, you're going to stop paying up, and then the whole thing comes crumbling down. Will that happen? I don't know.
Exactly. I don't know either, but I'm very curious. It's a fun follow for me. To go on the content side, because you were talking about some smaller channels, collector channels. I think we're frustrated. For 3 years, I made content 4 to 5 days a week, getting 100 views. And I wouldn't lie, I got frustrated sometimes. Hey, man, I'm putting in 10 hours. My videos are edited, and I'm getting no views. And I'm putting a lot of hours. So if someone's going to put 5-10 hours and get 70 views, you have a great attitude about it. It's a community, you like sharing. But as you mentioned, those two other card channels, they were starting to, or one of them at least, was starting to get frustrated with the amount of views they were getting. It was hard for him to keep putting his heart into it because of low view count.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that feel that way. Not just because they want to be, YouTube famous or anything like that, or they're even looking to make money at it. I know people who can monetize, who don't, but just that if you're putting it out there and 2 people are looking, or 15 people, who it's not that much fun for you, right?
So I just see that there could be burnout there. I understand that. I
Yeah,
understand that, hey, I want it to grow, not because YouTube's famous, but you just want to be heard a little bit.
yeah, and that's fine. Your channel's blown up here, man.
Hey.
Good for
Okay.
you.
Vintage. Hey, thank you. Vintage auto rookies is something I do believe in. I believe they're low pop. That a lot of these cards are high print run, but what separates that solo rookie card is the autograph version. It's very many less, and I think there's some value there, and people haven't moved their. I don't know. I just find a lot of value in that. A Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, I think there's 436 autographed copies. You can go buy one for $3 or $4 grand. That's just insane to me when you see other card prices. So I don't know. Do you have any take? Do you know people? Are you yourself the vintage autograph rookie space?
I have all kind of takes on that subject. First, they have certainly blown up over the past 3 years. That has been the biggest part of the vintage community hobby to go up, no doubt about it. People are chasing the vintage signed cards, and especially the signed rookie cards. In the old days, it was considered defacing the card to have
That's
a
right.
signature on it.
That's
so
right.
that's how I grew up.
Same with me in the 90s. Same.
And there were still some people who did it because they just were collecting. They didn't care about that. I've never been that into autographs myself. Now, when you're talking about the old cards, and I have another very seasoned collector. His dad was a dealer in the 70s. I mean, he goes way back. And he and I both had a discussion on this. We question all these vintage autograph cards because
Fair.
they just came out of the woodwork. All of a sudden, they were just flooding every auction. They're everywhere. And me personally, I don't trust an autograph I haven't seen signed. I know modern cards. I know for a fact that these athletes don't all sign them. Their dads sign them. Their wives sign them. Whatever.
Yeah.
And old time collectors will complain. Look at these modern signatures. Well, I think it's done intentionally, so you can't tell because they'll just put a line. Well, anybody could have done that.
Sure.
I don't trust autographs myself. I don't trust them, so I don't buy them.
That is completely fair. My pushback would be on there's 436 Kareems. So if you saw them out of the woodwork, maybe there's fake ones, but at least in the pop count, that's still really low. There's under 600 Dan Marino autograph. But what you're saying is these wouldn't be in the pop count. They would just be circulating.
Yeah, and just some historical perspective. Like I said, it used to be like you were defacing the card. You didn't want it signed.
Yeah.
You would take a signed card to a dealer, and they'd be like, "Oh, you shouldn't have it signed. It's not worth anything now, or it's not."
Especially the rookie card.
But in the in the early 2000s, where they started coming out with the signature cards in the packs and the memorabilia cards, when that got popular. That led way to, okay, well, I have my modern cards. I have these modern rookie cards signed. Now I want to get my vintage cards signed because I want those rookie cards too. And every year it got more and more common, more and more popular. And it really has peaked. It's peaking right now. I shouldn't say peaking because I don't know if it'll.
I think more people are finding out
about it. But I'm saying it's more popular now than ever before.
I agree. More people are finding out. But here, so for me, where the appeal is, because for the first year I heard about this, I was so against it. I was because I'm the same. Growing up, it was taboo to get a rookie card autographed. It wasn't the
you'd get a ball or a bat or something else.
That's right. But something like Shaq, who I grew up with, one of my favorite players, his rookie cards are a dime a dozen. So all of a sudden, I have this cool. Nostalgic card to me that has a cool blue ink signature of Shaq, and it just makes it look a bit nicer. But for the first year I heard about it, I was very against it.
But let me ask you this. So, like I said, it used to be taboo, and there were some people who collected signed cards. There definitely were, and they didn't care about anything else. But for the most part, people didn't get their cards signed back then. So where are all these 1930s, 40s, 50s signed cards coming from? Now, there are some guys that lived a long time, great signers like Charlie Gehringer, Bobby Shantz, Bill Terry was a good signer. All these guys that were really great signers, Burley Grimes. And so it's real easy to understand that in the 80s, when cards started getting way more popular, These guys are probably at card shows or people were TTMing them, and you'll find a lot of the 1960 and 61 Fleer Great sets signed by these guys. But the ones who died earlier, I got to question when they're
Sure.
starting to come out in higher numbers. I have to question that.
Well, I'll take that point further, is that every year it seems like Topps is coming out with a new Babe Ruth autograph or Jackie Robinson autograph in their
Right.
product. It's like, how do they keep getting these new eventually they're no longer. How they keep, I guarantee you in next year one of them will have another autograph in the product.
I saw on eBay there was a 1976 Jackie Robinson card that was autographed by Jackie. And I messaged his seller. I said, this is pretty remarkable. Like, this was signed 4 years after Jackie died. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Did he respond?
He didn't. Some of these scammers, they don't know cards, so they don't know what year some of them were made. But
lazy.
if you're gonna sign a card, you should at least make it before 1972. Prior to 1972, you're signing a 1976 card and pawning it off as a Jackie signature.
We'll end here. What, you have a great collection. I enjoy seeing, I don't watch every video, but I enjoy seeing some of the stuff because it's so rare. You don't normally see it. You have a good take on it. What keeps you hooked to vintage? Where does that love, what does it feel like? Where does it come from? Where is that love?
So I grew up a baseball fan as long as I could remember, and a card fan. My mom started buying me cards when I was a little kid. And for whatever reason, I was always drawn to the older players that I read about in books from the turn of the century and stuff. And so we had a flea market when I was a little kid, and I would go there. That's where I get all my older cards. But I didn't find T206s and cards that old. But I was always drawn to those old cards. And I don't know what it is, man. I just love them. I love the old cards. I always said the older the better. But the old cards, and then I started wanting all the obscure cards and the rare cards. That's really what I was drawn to. More so than the big cards that you see every single auction, every single magazine, every single video, every single card show. I like that obscure stuff, and I know the players, and I know the card sets. And if I don't know the card sets, I like to research them. If I don't know the players, I like to research them, and that's just a blast for me.
Hell yes. No, I
have a love for history, and I had a love for baseball all my life. And I had a love for cards all my life. So, card collecting allows me to merge all those together.
Yeah, mine would be that I love history of sports. And so I have a similar, I feel like
sports for me too. It's sports for me too.
Okay.
I just, baseball cards just have the longest history, right? Like football doesn't have that history. Basketball doesn't have that history. And so when you get into the real old cards and you want to teach somebody, most of what you're going to talk about are baseball. Although golf has a long history and then a big lull. And boxing has a long history as well. You could go way back for those. But I love all sports. I love all eras. I collect modern. I collect all eras, all sports. And I love to have the most fantastic players or players that accomplish something great or hold a record, even if they only played a couple years or whatever. So I have, you name it, I have it. Tennis cards, golf cards. I have bowling. I have soccer. I have pole vaulting. I have everything. I have everything.
Sets or singles? I've mainly seen singles from you, but I assume you have some sets.
I have a lot of golf sets. I would say mostly singles or partial sets. I have near sets for so many, and I just slowly work on them every once in a while. I compare the way I collect, because I collect, like I said, all sports, all eras. I compare it to music. Like, I'm a huge music lover, and I love literally every genre of music. I'll get into a classical mode. I'll get into a jazz mode. I'll get into a hard rock mode. I'll get into a R&B mode. And, it makes it more fun than just listening to the exact same music over and over again. And that's how it is with my collecting. Sometimes I get into a modern mode and I'll be working on a modern set. And when I say working on the set, for me, if there's a set I really like, then I go out and I try to get as many autos in it, as many memorabilia cards, special cards, refractors, that kind of thing. So that could be fun for a set that I really like. So I do that on occasion. I'm working on this W517. I got on a kick to.
Wow.
This is it's a scarce set. It has a great history. Rick from Vintage Oddball Cards and I just did a little bit of a deep dive into it, and I've been buying these things up because there's just such great stories to go with it, and there's still a little bit of a mystery. So I get on these different kits. I've been on a vintage football kick recently, and a little bit of a vintage basketball kick. So keeps it interesting.
I love the vintage basketball. No, I agree. I'm also very eclectic. I have some non-sports stuff. I don't have a lot of tennis, but the big name players, I have their rookie cards, golf set, from the 80s I have. It is more fun that way. I think, John, that you're a great, it's not just me. I think many people think you're a good voice for the hobby. I want to thank you for coming on. Is there any, closing remarks, anything you want to leave with? Or I appreciate you come on. You're a good voice for the hobby.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you having me on. The only thing I really would like to say is I think a lot of us in the hobby need to come together and be more respectful of each other. This what goes on in the world today is very combative. What goes on with the politics in this country is very combative. It's like night and day, black and white. There's no in the middle anymore. Like in the old days, you had to be in the middle to get elected president. Now we got this side and we have this side.
Very good.
And we don't have people in the middle anymore. We had people in the middle in Congress and people that could work together. And that ended a number of years ago now, and it's not coming back. And man, I hate to see it in the hobby too. You have all kind of trolls and all they do is go around and leave horrible comments and you don't know who they are. And it's like, just move on. Don't watch the shit that's going to trigger you. I know I don't. I don't go around telling people, insulting their haircut or their looks or telling them how horrible they are or how stupid they are or how wrong they are. I just move on.
That's right.
And we need more moving on. This social media world, it's just like everybody's at each other's throats. But John, we don't need that in our hobby. I mean, we hobby to get away from that.
I mean, what can be done to bring us together? Because as you said, it's two hobbies now.
Yeah, well, just stay in your lane. Like, I mean, I don't go into that lane and just start leaving horrible comments on the guys that say, "Oh, I spent $50,000 at this card show." I just don't watch them.
Same. Now, you could argue, though, some of my content is based on that side, but trying to expose some of it. I don't go on their channel. I've never, what am I going to go be a hater for on their comments? Why? But I would. Right. I do think the videos can be important, but on the comment side, sure. Yeah, why do that?
But what's important to call out scammers and scams in the hobby and things to look out for. I'm not going to fault anybody for speaking out on repacks because, I believe they're a scam. There's a lot of people that complain about grading. I'm not going to speak about anybody. I was into grading, but now I believe that's a scam too. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to speak out on anybody that says that PSA selling and grading the cards is a conflict of interest, because I believe it is a conflict. Those are just factual things. Those are factual. That's not made up drama. That's actual shit that's happening in the hobby. And I use that word intentionally. It's shit. So that's fine. But I'm not going to go on and badmouth like some of my fellow collectors who make videos because I don't like their topic. Stuff like that. I just don't watch.
I hope we could talk again soon, John. It was great. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. It was nice meeting you, John.